Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this great country of ours, north side, south side, east coast, west coast. Welcome to another Wednesday, and Bethea'S Byte Reloaded is live. I'm Ernest Bethea, the last outlaw, so good to have you all joining me today. We've got a lot to cover, and I'm going to go ahead and begin with our missing persons. So bear with me for just a moment as I set your screens up. All right, here we go. The FBI field office in Detroit, Michigan, along with Bay City Residency Agency and Roscommon County Sheriff's Office, need your help to locate sisters Iris Perez, aka A-Dayla Precious Crowder, and Tamara Perez, aka Sa-Kira Littrell Nombre, who have been declared missing since June 28th of 2023. Iris, who you see on your screen here, is 14 years of age, and Tamara is 15. At the time of their disappearances, Iris stood about 5 feet tall, weighed around 140 pounds. She has black hair, brown eyes, and a star tattoo on the left side of her neck. Tamara stood about 5 feet 3 inches tall, weighed around 120 pounds, and also has black hair and brown eyes. The sisters were seen by a neighbor on June 28, 2023, heading toward woods near their home in Houghton Lake, Michigan. Surveillance video shows a newer model white Jeep leaving the area at the time Iris and Tamara disappeared. It is also noteworthy that until approximately March of 2023, the sisters lived in Florida with their adoptive parents. They moved to Michigan after they were found in the biological mother's home in Port St. Lucie, Florida. The sisters have ties to Port St. Lucie and Lake Worth, Florida, Winchester, Tennessee, and Houghton Lake, Michigan. As always, if you have any information about Iris and Tamara's whereabouts, please do not hesitate. Reach out to your local FBI office, call 911 immediately, or contact the Roscommon County Sheriff's Office at 989-275-5101. You can also submit your tips online at tips.fbi.com. Your help and vigilance can play a crucial role in bringing Iris and Tamara back safe and sound. Please share this message out to increase the chances of reaching people who might have valuable information. And remember, as always, if you see something, say something. I will have this information posted again in a separate video. Let's do all we can to bring both Iris and Tamara back safe and sound. Okay, we're going to go ahead and kick things off with the story everybody's talking about. And in order to bring this into context, what I'm going to do is set this up under this tab. And I'm going to begin this day by putting up the old copyright disclaimer. Apparently my video's not working. Okay. So my original video link isn't working, but maybe this will. This is raw footage from Scripps News. Hang on tight.
Hold your ground! And he's still in that moving boat. Still in the moving boat. Clapping his hand. He's like, he's clapping his hand. We got action, baby. He ain't finna do nothing. Arrest that. Outlaw. He want more action. Young boy slammed over there. I didn't. Swim though. Did you see him take off in that water? Your boy finna go get him. Hell yeah. Hey, your boy finna. No, don't stop him now. Oh, get it. His son. They young boy tag. Oh, there you go. Come on. He playing. He playing. That little young boy tag. Who? No. Who the nicest one? The young boy? No. No, he ain't. I got the blue one. Yeah, but you should let the star just handle that dog. overthrowing him. That little young boy. He threw that lady down. I'm talking about he threw that. I bet she won't grab it no more. He already swam across this water. He's seen. He got the car right there. He touched the rubber. But he moved. He untied their boat. He untied their boat. But they should have moved though. They know they in the wrong, so they should have moved. They was over there. They should have moved. And ain't nobody get arrested.
Now what you saw was the first first fight that went down all for the captain of that riverboat to get the riverboat that was supposed to be docked where that pontoon boat was. What you didn't see or get to see was the fight that came after that. And that might be the best thing, because what I'm going to tell you right now is all the aftermath, courtesy of CNN. What happened after all the fighting had been done. Start beginning here. Or better yet, here's some video footage that might help you out as well.
The suspects thus far have been identified as Richard Roberts, white male, 48 years old, with 2 outstanding warrants for assault, 3rd degree. Alan Todd, white male, 23 years old, 1 warrant for assault, 3rd degree. And Zachary Shipman, white male, 25 years old, 1 warrant for assault, 3rd degree. We have instructed those individuals to turn themselves into law enforcement, and as at this time, 1 is secured and in custody. The other 2 are set to turn themselves in within the next hour. We're also asking for Mr. Reggie Gray, the black male, 42 years old, who was seen wielding that folding chair, to contact the Montgomery Police Department for further interviews and as part of this investigation. As the mayor said a minute ago, this investigation is ongoing and more charges are likely.
There you have it from Police Chief Daryl Albert. There may be more charges pending, and if there is, I'll be sure to bring that to you. But in the meantime, as he said, 48-year-old Richard Roberts is charged with 2 counts of 3rd degree assault, while 23-year-old Alan Todd and 25-year-old Zachary Shipman each were charged with one count of 3rd degree assault. It's like I said, this has been the talk of everywhere, all over the internet. Memes have been created. A steel folding chair, ladies and gentlemen, is being heralded as one of the quote unquote heroes of this brawl. Now, like many, I'm not saying I condone the violence, but when it's your last resort, it's your last resort. You do what you can, and those people that did exactly that because they don't know exactly what could have happened with the captain of that riverboat. So you guys tell me, what do you think of everything that went down? And I ask you, please, to be as what's the word? Be as unbiased as possible. Drop me a note in the comments, or as always, ways you can get in contact with me all over social media. Yeah, I would love to hear from all of you regarding this. You can hit me up on Facebook at Bethea'S Byte Reloaded True Crime. Excuse me. You can drop me a quick message on X, formerly known as Twitter. At EKB316. It seemed like this with Twitter's new identity. The one thing that hasn't changed is the handles. Like I said, you can drop me a comment here on Facebook. Right here, Bethea'S Byte Reloaded. That's with and without the punctuation mark. I'm shooting a video here on Instagram, and you can drop me a comment there at EB the Last Outlaw on Instagram. And of course, it's all over TikTok. So if you can find me or find my commentary on the video all around TikTok, sure, drop me a line there. I'm at King of Hearts 316 2021 on TikTok. So there we have that. That's the coverage on the Montgomery Riverboat Brawl. You have numerous ways to contact me on social media. Oh, one more way. If you can't get to me over those other 5 ways, I have one last option for you. You can email me. The address, kingofhearts316_09 at outlook.com. I'll be more than happy to read your responses and even respond to them. Some people say it's not a black and white issue. Others say the total opposite. You let me know what you think, and I'll respond to it in kind. All right. So there's that. Now we're gonna go right to yet another letter from Gary Oliva. Gary Oliva, last time we mentioned his name, Gary Oliva had a letter confessing that he was the guy who killed JonBenet Ramsey. Now, they have another letter, and this time we're going to find out whether the handwriting samples match or not. I'm going to set this up. We're going to take this to my main man, 50 grand from Court TV, the one and only Vinny Politan. Closing arguments.
I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Get ready. This hour, we're going to take a look at some information, some evidence, and try to see if there's anything that gets us closer to an answer in the JonBenet Ramsey case. And, you know, this is an unsolved case, and it's one of those murders where everyone has a theory, right? A lot of people have theories and have thrown them out through the years, from DAs to investigators to podcasters to people producing specials on TV. So many have taken a look at the evidence that's been made public and revealed. And so many have gone in different directions with all of it. They have. I mean, they're even within law enforcement, there were like two schools of thought on what happened to this little girl. Now, like I said, everyone has theories, and there have been some relatively recent, and I say relatively recent, this is a very old case, but relatively recent television programs that have taken a look at it. And in one particular case, at the end of the program, it seemed like there was a conclusion by the experts who looked at this that it was someone within the family. That resulted in a defamation case, which, trust me, was not won by the network that produced the show. There was a settlement in that case. That didn't necessarily resolve anything, but that's the way this case has gone, right? People have been very passionate about their views, and John Ramsey and the family from the beginning said, no, it's not us. It's not us. But there was a lot of focus on the family from the beginning. And that may have thrown this whole thing off the tracks a little bit, because we still don't have an answer. Like, how could you focus on a certain set of suspects from the beginning, yet never come up with enough evidence to bring them into a courtroom? And I know that the original prosecutor had gone after him, looked like things were moving in that direction, but it didn't end up that way. Didn't end up that way. Now, I remember at Court, when I was at Court TV early on in my career at Court TV, there was a huge moment when John Mark Carr, who was this guy, this bizarre man, made this confession, and everyone thought, this is it. This is it. Brought him back from overseas. I think he was in Thailand. He had confessed to all of this, was brought into court. At the time, it was the biggest moment in the history of Court TV. The first time that he was brought into a courtroom here in the United States. And it turned out that that was a false confession. You know, they looked at him, they looked at where he was, what he knew, everything, and the pieces just didn't fit. Trust me, they wanted the pieces to fit, but they didn't. And in high-profile cases, you will get false confessions. It's par for the course. It happens. That's why investigators always hold back some information that presumably only the killer would know. So when they get all these confessions, they can somehow corroborate or verify that, oh yeah, you know, he or she knew something that nobody else knew in this case. That wasn't the case with John Mark Carr. So now we're dealing with this other confession. I know it's been making the rounds for a while, but it's a guy named Gary Oliva. All right? He likes pictures of little kids. Okay? Child pornography. We know that for a fact, okay? So that gets him into the, into the sphere of people who could potentially be responsible for all this. Now, he's written a series of letters, including ones where he has admitted taking the life of JonBenet Ramsey. He's in custody right now. But he sent these letters, and the question is this for real? Is this a real confession, or the deranged mind of a man making a false confession, like John Mark Carr did years ago? And that's what we're going to look at tonight on this show. That's what we're going to look at, and get the backstory and get some facts, and try to put the pieces together here. So let's begin with the letter. He wrote a letter to a friend of his, a friend, acquaintance, former classmate. His name is Michael Vale. And in that letter he wrote, "I never loved anyone like I did Jonbenet, and yet I let her slip and her head bashed in half, and I watched her die. It was an accident." Okay? That's one of many letters that Gary Oliva has written through the years, this to Michael Vale.
I pause it right there because that was the letter that he made mention of the last time I covered this. And I want you guys to pay real close attention. If I can blow this up a little bit more. Okay, that's the best I can do. I want you to pay attention to the handwriting style. He's using a lot of caps. I mean, I use a lot of caps, large and small. Oh, and don't get your hopes up. This happened in Colorado. I was living in New York at the time this happened. Anyway, so now once we get back into it, we're going to hopefully find out if the handwriting in this new letter, if it is a new letter, if it matches the original, if it matches this one. Let's go back.
So I want to get the backstory on this man, Gary Oliva, and the friend, classmate he was writing to. What's the story behind the letter, behind this confession? And so joining me tonight, folks, from Ventura, California, the man who received those letters from Gary Oliva, his former classmate, Michael Vale. Michael, I just didn't know how to describe it. I didn't want to say friend, but like he's sending you letters, and I know classmate, acquaintance. How would you describe your relationship now and years ago with this man, Gary Oliva?
Well, really, there's three parts to that story. The first part would be pre-96. The second part, then there would be 96, and then anything after 2016. But in the beginning, I went to a very small high school, and everybody knew everybody there. And Gary was what we called an orbiter. He just would orbit around our groups and stuff. So we were classmates. We knew everybody in school. There's probably 75 to 100 kids there at any given time. It was a rather small school.
Okay, so you describe him as an orbiter. Was he always a little different? Was there always, did you and your classmates sense that, one of these, classmates is not like the other?
Well, we didn't really, we were just kids. We didn't really know about that stuff. I didn't have any idea. We have a naivety, at the time, being just young kids. But of course, we knew there was something wrong with Gary. In fact, we called him Scary Gary. He was known for breaking into places and getting art supplies. I mean, he could break in and steal things, but he was definitely into stealing art supplies and things of that nature. I heard about the paintbrush, things like that. There's so many points that I have here. I have 25 points of what I would call circumstantial evidence.
Okay, let's get to that in just a minute. I just want to focus on how we got to these letters. So let's start with when does he start writing to you, and what is the sort of the nature of the communication, and is it a back and forth, or is it a sort of a one-way street here?
Well, right after high school, I went off, got married, went to college, all that good stuff, and Gary stayed in touch with the mail, the U.S. mail. Believe it or not, back then that's how we got we stayed in touch. So I was taking a TV and radio course, and I had access to this fantastic studio. So I was making these funny cassette tapes with all their sound effects and stuff. And I popped Gary, was one of the guys I popped on one of these cassette tapes. Well, he loved it. He mailed me back a cassette tape. And this went on for years, I'm going to say 16 years, getting cassette tapes and things from him and really not talking by telephone, which made that phone call in 96, very more.
Okay, so let's get to the phone call in 1996. This is when you say everything changes, and we know this is when Jonbenet is murdered. So what was this phone call like? When was it? And what was said?
It was December 26th. It was almost midnight on the 27th. It would have been the morning of the 27th. Well, all of a sudden, it was the happiest time of my life. It really was. I just bought a house. I married my high school sweetheart, ironically, right? And then, things were going so great. And so my family went to sleep, and I remember it. You remember a phone call you get that's terrifying. You remember it. You remember the room you're in when you get that phone call. And I remember with the Christmas tree and everything. It was December 26th, and it was about midnight. And I get that phone call, and it's Gary's voice, and he's like, oh, I just heard, oh, little girl, like it was the most terrifying. I'm getting goosebumps just now telling you guys this because it was terrifying, and I immediately jumped into protective mode. Oh, where are you? What's your address? What's your phone number? And he kind of caught on to me, but he told me he was in Boulder. When I was like, Boulder? Why would you be in Boulder? You've been sending me mail for 16 years from Oregon, and now you're suddenly in Boulder calling me. Anyway, he hung the phone up when I'm trying to get information, and that was the phone call. Well, here's the scariest part. The next morning, I get to the LA Times on the newspaper on my front porch. It's 6, 7 in the morning. I flip the newspaper open, and there it is on the back side. It says, girl 6 slain in Boulder, Colorado. And I knew something serious had happened that night. I go, wow, he actually killed the girl. And that's when I called that number. Right then and there, I called that phone number. And I sat back, and, when you call the police, they're going to do something, right? I mean, that's their job. They investigate tips, right? And here's my solid gold tip. But I sit back, I'm telling my wife, any day they're going to arrest Gary, watch this, it's going to be incredible. And then all of a sudden, like every day would go by, and there's no phone call. I mean, the police never followed up. So after 3 months, I called them a second time. And I said, look, I need to tell you I've got a really good lead for the John. Now I knew her name was Jonbenet. And I said, I've got a lead for the Jonbenet murder. And they said, okay, let me put you through to the Jonbenet line, quote unquote, the crazy person line, right? Because by now, thousands of people had called, who knows, my tip got buried in there. Who knows what happened? I'm still thinking Gary's going to be arrested any day. You talked about John Mark Carr earlier. And let me tell you something. I knew when John Mark Carr got arrested, I knew that I was like, what is this? I mean, I know Gary did this. I know who killed Jonbenet.
So never any response from police. You make the initial call, you make the second call. Did they ever get back to you?
No, the Boulder police never contacted me until the TV show 48 Hours and Lou Smith followed up. And actually Alex Hunter, the district attorney for Boulder, Colorado at the time, drove out to my apartment in Ventura. And I gave him evidence of some of those scary things that Gary had mailed me over the years. We're talking handwriting samples. We're talking hair from missing kids posters, really scary stuff that he had started sending me. What I forgot to tell you is that over the 16 years, the things he had sent me got darker and darker until it was like including tape tape recordings where he's simulating a rape of a child and really horrible things like that. So, yeah, it was getting pretty scary. And then 96 happened, and I knew that he had done something very serious.
So when do you get a letter where now, because over the phone, I would consider that a confession too, right? I hurt this girl, he says he's in Boulder, right? So that's one part. When do you start getting letters or the letter where he purports to confess to the murder itself?
Right. It's an interesting story because in May of 2016, I had had enough. I had found Gary's Pinterest page. It was basically a trophy page to Jonbenet. There was 65 photos of Jonbenet in there, and I just went livid. So I thought, what can I do to help this case along? What can I do? And here it was 2016. So I wrote I have a friend who's an FBI agent, sent her a 3-page email. She said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Within a month, Gary was arrested, and he's got a undetermined sentence. And
So
he's still in prison.
and still in prison now. I mean, the guy clearly has issues and has problems. And the question is he the one responsible for all of this? So you get the letter from him. What do you do with the letters once he starts confessing to you through these letters?
No, what the way that happened is that within a month he was arrested, and I was like, oh wow, it was like a backpack full of rocks. It was like relief. I finally was free from worrying about Gary loose in society. It was the best feeling in the world, and I thought that was enough. That's what I needed, right? And then, but what happened was somebody said, hey, why don't you write Gary a letter and ask him what he did that night? Well, tell me. And I said, that's a brilliant idea. So I started sending Gary's letters. To my surprise, he started sending them back. And I tried everything to try to get him to talk about his life and just about everything, about how this got to this point, you know, and about Jonbenet and his obsession with Jonbenet. We talked about every detail. And then, what happened is I couldn't get enough details from the letters, so I had him start to call me on the telephone. And I'm recording those calls.
Now, Michael, I understand that you just got another letter today.
Oh, yeah.
From Gary Leyva?
Yeah, matter of fact, I do have a letter still sealed right here. It's dated July 31st.
Do you mind opening it and tell us what Gary has to say tonight?
I sure do. I sure do. And I got to tell you, we've got some amazing details coming up. We have a new private investigator that's working with us, and it's really helping this case. I'm very excited. Okay, so I'm opening this, as you can see. I'm sorry, I should have done that on the... Okay, this is a very, very detailed letter. I haven't reviewed this, but as you can see, let me just approve this, make sure it's okay. It says, generosity brings psychological benefits. It's some clipping from it's interesting, you know, the things that he sent me. And now he's kind of changed his handwriting even more, and he writes very small. And, you know, I'll spare you guys. I won't read this to you, but it's been quite a journey for 27 years trying to keep
just
this
give us
guy
a small flavor of what he wrote, if you could read a couple lines from it.
In the garden, there are patches where others have dumped things of little value that need clearing out and tilled ready for planting, that are patches where no matter one tries to grow, a surface then dies. It never takes hold. Needs the right nutrients. That's where the patches are. That things never get planted at the right time. So you must keep replanting. So it's just bizarre.
Bizarre stuff. But, I mean, this case is still unsolved. There's a purported confession here. Now, this is what I want to do, Michael. I want you to stand by, because what we're doing here tonight is taking some of the letters that you've provided, and there's the original ransom note in the Jonbenet case, which everyone believes the killer wrote, right? So we're going to compare the handwriting from the letters. Got some experts coming on in the next segment. We'll take a look at that. And then I know you have that list. Okay, I'm going to get to the lists. Before we finish here this hour, we're going to get to your list as well. So Michael Vale, former classmate of Gary Oliva, staying with us. We're going to compare those letters. We've got a lot to get to. Plus, coming up next hour.
Okay, so we're still looking to see about getting the ransom note and that letter that was sent. We're gonna find out if those letters match. So hold tight, and I'm gonna let you guys be the judge. Stand by for just a few minutes. I'm getting everything set up here. All right. Yep, this ought to do it. All right. We're going to join Vinnie Pollack.
The note was lying across the run of one of the stair treads. And it was kind of
the murder. She was still in the house. So take a look at the ransom note. This is, one of the most significant pieces of evidence in the case. And yet they haven't been able to connect anyone to it. So we've got Gary Oliva confessing in a letter and writing tons of letters to Michael Vale. So what we want to do is compare Gary Oliva's letter to the ransom note to say, hey, are there consistencies here? Does it look like the same person could have or did write these two letters? So let's bring in our guest, still with us, Gary Oliva's former classmate, Michael Vale. Also joining us tonight, helping us a lot with all this in Salt Lake City, private investigator and great friend of the show, Jason Jensen. And helping us analyze these documents, forensic handwriting experts, Moselle Martin and Dawn McCarty. Great to have everyone here. Thank you so much. And I got to let everyone know, Jason Jensen is putting all this together and helping us so much. Appreciate Jason. But I'm going to go right to the experts, if you don't mind, who you helped put all this together. So I want to take a look at sort of like a layover kind of comparison that Moselle did. We have something we could put on the screen here, which compares the TH, the IF, the U, and some of the words here. Moselle, why don't you begin to explain this and what it tells you?
Well, for me, it's really about the nuances, the little things that are not common. It's important to look at the common similarities as well, but it's also important to look at the uncommon things. For example, a lot of the people who are at home armchair sleuths, they will look at it and say, oh, well, it doesn't visually look the same. But if you can, everybody kind of learned the same way in school to a certain extent. And so there's going to be some commonalities. So when you overlay them, though, some of these weird little strokes that are awkward, that are not common, like a little bend in the T stem or an arch in the H. Those are unique to that individual. So when you overlay them, they line up so well. That's a really loud announcement in my profession.
Okay, Dawn, let's start going through some of the letters now. Let's start. This is like going back to school with the letter A and the comparison of the A. So what did you find in this comparison of the letter A? I think we're going to put it up on the screen. Do we have it? Here we go. All right. Tell us what we're looking at.
Sure. So when you look at these, you might think at first, oh, these don't look the same. One starts and one's, on a upward slant to curve over. However, if you lay these two over, if you take the blue A and you lay it over the black A, it almost lines up in that arch that bends around. You can see how they line up a little bit. And then there's also an indentation on that right-hand side, which I think is on another slide later, that you can see in the same location on both sides, both documents. Those nuances or the anomalies exist. And that's what we're really looking for is it's easy to spot things that are similar, but what we're really looking for is those things that aren't really obvious, but we can still find. So that's why we really dig in and take our time with these analysis and dig up a little bit more or dig through them a little bit more so we can find those similarities and the dissimilarities, because we want to have a broad analysis. We want to know what's different. And then we also want to know, okay, so how many traits are similar so that we can stack those traits? Because like Moselle said, some of us are going to have very similar writing because we learned in schools that taught us how to write the same letters. So that aside, as we grow, we start creating or start developing our own style, and our own personality comes out into our writing, where you can see someone else's handwriting and recognize, okay, yeah, that's my mom's handwriting. So that's what we're looking for beyond that. What else is in that writing that is unique to both documents?
So let's go through some more letters. Go through the letter C now. Let's take a look. Moselle, what are your thoughts about the C's?
Well, it's very interesting because the C's and the E's, if you just looked at those letters of Gary's, a lot of them resemble an E. But we have to look at, we have two different writing instruments. We have a Sharpie and we have an ink pen. So when you're comparing them, you're automatically going to have some residual stroking of the Sharpie, because it does automatically bleed into the paper weave a lot differently than the ink would sit on it. However, you can still see when you overlay them the same strokes, the angles, the hooks, the exits. They are still there, even though we have different writing instruments.
Let's go to the D's. Dawn? That's your first letter of your name. What do you think of the D's?
So what's significant about these D's, if you look how they're both written on each side, they start at the top. And now at the top on the question document, you see that black dot. That's because it's a Sharpie pen, and that ink is flowing as soon as it makes contact with the paper. So both these D's start at the top and they go all the way around and form that circle without stopping. There's no straight stem going down and then up and creating the loop. The stem goes down and it continues on and wraps around to form that D on the top one. On the bottom one, you can see how both of these traits are like a little triangle in that loop. So it's not a pure circle. Both, again, exist in both documents. Moselle,
we have here two L's together. Let's take a look at that and tell me what you think.
The L's, I was so excited when I saw the L's because it just has so much difference in the visual aspect of it. But when we overlay them, I was so excited. I yelled at my husband and I said, you have to see these L's, and he doesn't know anything about handwriting. But when you overlay them, there is just no denying that they are made with the same stroke. It has the same the same bend in the stems. It has the same spacing between the stems that also line up. So they are very distinct.
Dawn, take a look at the M's now. Let's go to the M's.
So when you look at these M's, you're going to say that they don't look alike. That these ones are shorter in the middle, where that you have the peaks and the valleys. But when you overlay them, you can still see that the spacing is the same, and that's what we look for also. So it's not just about is the points exactly the same. There's not going to be an exact match on every letter, especially when you're looking at disguised writing, which obviously the ransom note is disguised writing. So it's not going to look exactly the same. However, when you lay these over, you can see how they do line up as far as the spacing goes.
All right, Moselle, this is interesting.
Okay, so far they went through pretty much halfway through the alphabet between the ransom note and Gary Oliva's letter, and thus far the only difference between the two is, like they mentioned earlier, one was written with an ink pen, the other a Sharpie. Other than that, this guy is starting to believe that both of those handwritings are the same. But let's continue.
The O's and the O's, and I don't know if that's the O's and the O's or the O's and the zeros. The O's and the zeros. Let's take a look here. What are you seeing here?
So for me, one of the big things I always look for when I'm analyzing a question document is I am looking for entrance and exit strokes. Where do they start? Where do they end? How do they meet and connect? And after they complete, what shape are they? So when we overlay these, it's just, again, again, it's just, how do you deny this?
It's unbelievable. And finally, Dawn, we've got some numbers and symbols here we're going to take a look at as well, which I guess are a little more unique. What's significant here?
So at first glance, you're going to look at the 1997 and you're going to see some wobbliness and some heavier ink at the bottom, the base of the 9, but you have to remember that that is written with a Sharpie pen. So you're going to see more of that than you may have if it was written with a ballpoint pen. So when you look at the 9s on the right and you lay those over the 9s in the middle, sort of, and I think we do have an overlay on this one. I'm not sure if it's going to play, but those 9s line up. They're just a little bit shorter. And then the double 9s also line up. So that the .99 on the right side of the known sample is actually the 99-cents piece of the 1999. And it still lines up in over these other 99s to where they're centered and still within the same spacing, more or less. And then the 7, of course, that top bar across the top is nearly the same length. And then both of them come down almost straight before the blue 7 bends a little bit and before the 7 gets a little wobbly. But you can still, when those are overlaid, they're pretty similar.
Okay, so let's get to the bottom line here now. So, Moselle, I'll begin with you. I'm not familiar. What's the standard when you compare? Is it like more likely than not inconsistent with, or what's your conclusion?
So for me, I use a 5-point scale, which basically 5 would say, absolutely, there's no way possible this person could have written this, in my opinion. Again, this is just my opinion. So for this, I would be at about a 1.75. I would love to have seen more handwriting, but we can only work with what we have access to. But based on everything that I looked for and looked at, I had dozens and dozens of samples of Gary's. I started at 250, went up to 225, then was at a 2, and then ended at 175.
So what does 175 mean again?
Means pretty close to certain, but you can never say 100%.
Right. So it's very close. Okay. So Dawn,
very close.
What was your conclusion?
So I started out more at a 3-4 in the very beginning because I didn't do the deep dive. I was still just did a peer review. And the more I started digging into it, the more I started doing the overlays, I could see more significance in the similarities. And this is a compelling argument that there's a lot of anomalies in here. And so I did manage to get down to, and I was on a 2 for a little while, but those O's and some of the numbers, the A's that have a little indentation that exists in both documents, they were a little convincing. So I'm down. I'm between a 175 and a 2. So in my opinion, it's plausible.
Wow. Wow. Fascinating stuff. I appreciate you coming on and sharing that with us. Pretty amazing. So I thank you, Moselle Martin and Dawn McCarty. Jason Jensen's going to stay with us. Can't wait to hear what he has to say about all of this. And of course, Mike Vale, I know you've got your list. I want to hear that list. We've got all that coming up. Don't go anywhere, folks. Wow.
And I'm gonna stop it right there, and I'm gonna put my 2 cents on those comparisons, and going by their 5-point scale, as where one is absolutely likely it could match, and 5 not so much. I'm gonna go 1.5. I think, yeah, the handwriting on the ransom note, the handwriting of the confession, I think those are all Gary Oliva's, period, point blank. But like I said, it's not just my opinion. I want to hear from you too. Ooh, hit me up. Facebook, X, YouTube, TikTok, IG. Let me know what you think. Email me. In the meantime, this case with JonBenet Ramsey's death is still uncertain. I wouldn't just say cold; it's uncertain, because we do have Gary Oliva behind bars. He's confessing, but is anybody really buying it? Just have to wait and see. If anything new develops, you'll get it here. Bethea'S Byte Reloaded. Again, my thanks to everybody at Court TV, especially Vinny Politan, for the coverage. Now I've got one last story left in my arsenal before I put out one more missing persons update, and I want to go back and cover the crazy case. And yes, I'm calling it crazy for a reason. The crazy case of the mother who had her baby, says she didn't know she was pregnant, had her baby, left her child for dead in a Houston gas station bathroom. Let's go to Fox 26 in Houston.
The most powerful people in Texas answer to you.
What's your reaction to that?
Dallas, Houston, Austin.
Fox Texas Trio.
Fox stations across take on our state's biggest issues.
Let us know what you think the issue is.
Sunday at 9:45 during Fox.
No, apparently they're going live with their coverage right now.
Fox 26 News at 9 p.m.
The U.S. military is reviewing
The News Edge at 10.
Good evening, I'm Caroline Collins, topping the rundown tonight.
2 big shows back to back.
A big line of storms could pop.
Weeknights starting at 9.
The gunfire erupted a little bit before.
Only on Fox.
This newscast.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Apparently, they're going live with their normal news coverage, but I can tell you that that there is disturbing details of the woman who left the who was charged with the baby girl's death, left her in the toilet. Yes, it's that gruesome. New disturbing details have been revealed in a case of a woman who abandoned her dead child in a Houston gas station. Diana Guadalupe Zavala Lopez, 25 years of age, was arrested for allegedly leaving a deceased infant in a Houston gas station on 13114 South Post Oak Road on April 2nd. According to the court records, Lopez told investigators she did not know she was pregnant. She felt pain after attending a party and stopped at the gas station to go to the restroom. Authorities believe Lopez attempted to flush the baby down the toilet before abandoning her. She initially told authorities she saw blood come out of her and felt something come out of her, but never looked back after flushing. Lopez later stated she felt the baby come out and pushed the infant out, then turned around to see the baby face down in the toilet. She cleaned herself up of blood and used a mop from the outside to attempt to clean the restroom. Court records say she never attempted to check the infant for signs of life, attempted CPR, or pull the baby from the toilet. The 25-year-old left the gas station and drove home, according to officials, and she was arrested in Brownsville and charged with tampering with a human corpse. All I can say, ladies and gentlemen, is every time I look back at this case and cases like it, it's disturbing. What are these parents, so-called parents, doing? There's so much information that's not being told yet, and I'm still waiting to get get all that information. When I get it, you guys will get it. Now, I started off with one missing persons case. I got one more I want to hit you guys up with real quick. This is probably just a reminder of one that that I don't know whether I covered it or somebody else has. Take a look at your screen. This is Lashaya Stein. She was reported missing July 15th of 2016. Lashaya Stein is currently 23 years of age. At the time of her disappearance, she stands 5 feet 6 inches tall, weighs around 150 pounds. She has brown hair. She's dark hair, brown eyes. She has a quarter-size round scar on her chest. On the day of her disappearance, she was last seen wearing a black V-neck shirt, black stonewashed jeans, silver hoop earrings, and a silver watch on her left arm. On July 15th, 2016, Lashaya Stein left the residence in Aurora, Colorado around 2 o'clock a.m. She was last seen in the area of East Montview Boulevard and North Peoria Street in the early morning hours. She was scheduled for a job interview on July 16th, but never arrived. Lashaya has not made any attempts to contact family members or friends since she has been gone. The case is being investigated by the Denver office of the FBI and the Aurora Police Department. As always, if you have any information concerning the whereabouts of Lashaya Stein, please do not hesitate. Contact the Aurora Police Department at 303-627-3100, 303-627-3100, or contact Colorado Crime Stoppers at 720-913-7867. 720-923-7867. You may also contact your local FBI office, Denver, Aurora, Colorado. We are needing your help trying to find this young lady. You can also submit tips anonymously. The address is tips.fbi.gov. As always, your help and vigilance can play a crucial role in bringing Lashea back safe and sound. Please share this message to increase the chances of reaching people who might have valuable information. And again, as always, if you see something, say something. Well, I guess that's gonna do it for me. I thank you guys for joining me. I thank all of you who plan on watching the replay. And again, drop me. I would love to hear the commentary. Hit me up on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Email me. I'd love to hear from you. You're the heartbeat of Bethea'S Byte Reloaded. So I'm gonna go ahead and say goodbye to you. You guys are, again, like I said, you guys are the heartbeat of Bethea'S Byte Reloaded. I thank you so much, and to those subscribers who decided to drop off, I apologize for not having so much drama. But then again, Bethea'S Byte Reloaded is a drama-free zone. So if you're looking for drama, I would suggest, as some of these other clickbait channels, I would suggest those who are into true crime but only in it for all the wrong reasons. This is not what Bethea'S Byte Reloaded is all about. For those who are interested in true crime, interested in cases that I cover, I would more than happy to have you. Please come by. I'll continue to bring the coverage as best I can. Again, I thank you. I'm Ernest Bethea, the Last Outlaw. I'm gonna say goodbye like I normally do. I love you guys. I want you to take that, spread it around. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others, because I do want to see you back here next time for another edition of Bethea'S Byte Reloaded. Until then, again, thank you so much. I love you guys. And until next time, you all know exactly what to do. Bite this. Hey guys, The Last Outlaw here. Thank you all so much for watching this video and subscribing to Bethea'S Byte Reloaded. I appreciate the support of this little engine powered by you. Did you enjoy this video? Do you want to give your feedback on it? Here's what you do. Like this video to get more eyes on it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Be sure to click the notification bell and set it to all to be notified of future videos. Share this video to your social media. I respond to your comments, good or bad, so drop your thoughts here. Be sure to follow Bethea'S Byte Reloaded all over social media. At Bethea'S Byte True Crime on Facebook. At EKB316 on Twitter. At Bethea'S Byte Reloaded on YouTube. That's with and without the punctuation marks. At EB The Last Outlaw on Instagram. At King of Hearts 316 2021 on TikTok. You can email me at kingofhearts316_09@outlook.com. This is your home for news, opinions, debates, your voice, and justice served. This is Bethea'S Byte, and it's reloaded.